Hey everyone, Jay Whitner here with Space Headlines. We do a quick recap every week of what's going on in space, and today we'll be talking about the second week of June 2019. Our first item has to do with NASA's commercialization plan for the International Space Station. The details are coming out and they look quite interesting. NASA is going to allow manufacturing and marketing activities to happen up on the space station. And twice a year, private astronauts will be able to visit the space station. And the price will be $35,000 a day per person to stay on the space station. And NASA is going to issue a request for proposals about using one of the space station ports to dock a commercial module to that port and have access to the space station. And the goal behind all this is we want to have a future where there's no gap in human spaceflight in low Earth orbit. Europe is working on an interesting project that may sound familiar to any viewers who are familiar with the Dragon Lab concept. But Europe is calling this thing the Space Rider, and it's to be in service by 2022. And this is something that will be launched on a Vega C rocket. It can stay up in space for up to 60 days with experiments on board, and then the thing returns to Earth. It's a reusable. And the capacity is 1,800 pounds of experiments can be inside, and they're going to be provided power from the spacecraft. It says 600 watts of power will be a part of the bargain. So this will be a way that organizations and companies can get stuff up into space quickly, do their experiments, get everything back for examination with hopefully a lot less paperwork than to do similar work on the International Space Station. Scientists have come to the conclusion that there's a huge mass underneath the moon's south pole that's made out of metal or metallic ores. So this is really a very large situation. They're describing it as 5 times the size of the big island of Hawaii. This is the volume of material that we're talking about. And this is something that was detected through analysis of information collected by the GRAIL mission. And what this means really is that in addition to ice and other resources that we know of at the South Pole, perhaps there could be very interesting mining activities there that might take advantage of this find. NASA's picked out 2 projects to get some more funding. One has to do with moon exploration, and the other has to do with asteroid mining. On the lunar side, they want to use high-resolution imagery and 3D modeling to really look at the lunar surface that we have lots of photographs and images of, and to determine from the imagery which pits and different features can be accessed by astronauts safely and by robots as well as we move back to the moon and want to set up a base there. The second project is called the Mini-B prototype, and this is going to look into asteroid mining techniques with the main goal being to harvest water from the asteroids. And this is a very important technology. Water is extremely valuable in space, and this would use optical mining techniques. SpaceX is at it again. We had a Falcon 9 launch. It carried 3 satellites. They were Canadian satellites that were Earth observation type. And the launch went fine. And the first stage was successfully landed. And this was actually the 41st time that a first stage was safely landed by SpaceX, which is really amazing when you think of not too long ago, it was thought impossible to do such a thing. The NASA administrator, Jim Bridenstine, has released some preliminary figures about what NASA thinks the return to the moon will cost. NASA is saying $20 to $30 billion over a 5-year span to do the lunar return, which is called Artemis. You see some imagery here on the slide about how we would go about doing this. And so it sounds to me like it's most likely that this will cost $30 billion or more. And the big concern here by the administrator is that NASA not be forced to liquidate lots and lots of existing programs to fund this. NASA needs fresh external money to get this done properly. The last piece is NASA's looking for ideas from industry on what are efficient ways to resupply the Lunar Gateway. If you're not familiar with this, it's sort of a small space station in the lunar vicinity of our moon. And we need to figure out how we're going to build it and how we're going to resupply it over time. This is a very preliminary thing, this NASA seeking input. It will help them write up the formal RFP, which will come later for official bids to be put in to provide this service. That's it for Space Headlines covering the second week of June. Hope you enjoyed our show, and we'll see you in a week or two. Take care.